Hello everyone, this is Dr. Pooja Sharma. Today we are going to talk about pharmacovigilance systems in India. In this module, we will recap the phases of clinical trials, recap the need for research beyond the phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials, recap the need and meaning of pharmacovigilance, and look at the pharmacovigilance systems in India, the pharmacovigilance program of India, and pharmacovigilance by the marketing applicant. To recap, the drug development process includes clinical trials, which are the mainstay of the drug development process. They include phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials, which are done before marketing authorization, and phase 4, and which are done post-marketing authorization, and pharmacovigilance studies, which are done throughout the life of a drug. World Health Organization has stated that although all medicines and vaccines undergo rigorous testing for safety, efficacy through clinical trials before they are authorized for use, but however, the clinical trial process involves studying these products in small numbers with selected individuals over a short period of time. And adverse events or certain effects may come after their products have been used by a mixed population, which is a heterogeneous population, over a longer time, people with different kinds of disease, other diseases, and other medications, and duration of the medication use. Herein comes in pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance is, by definition, pharmacon, which is drug, and vigilance, which is to keep watch. It is a process to keep, it is a science which has activities concerned with detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse reactions to medicines. So it records these adverse reactions over time after approval of the regulatory approval. Pharmacovigilance in the world is led by the WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center. It's the coordinating center, currently has 139 member countries. It maintains a global adverse drug reaction database called in the VigiBase system. So the database is called VigiBase. So Vigi comes from vigilance. And as a full member of this program, India has developed a robust pharmacovigilance system through the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. Now let's look at certain terms. What are adverse drug reactions? All medicines, pharmaceuticals, vaccines can have side effects. Some of these side effects are known, they are found out during clinical trials, while many of them are still unknown even if that medicine has been in use for several years. There are considerable social and economic consequences of adverse drug reactions, and there is need to engage healthcare professionals as well as a structured program to build synergies for monitoring these adverse drug reaction. From herein comes the pharmacovigilance program, pharmacovigilance being vigilance on drugs. This was initiated in 1986 with a formal adverse drug reaction monitoring system under the supervision of the Indian drug regulator, also called the Drug Controller of India. The National Pharmacovigilance Program was launched in 2005 and it was renamed as the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, or PVPI, in 2010. Currently, it also goes with the name of PVPI. The National Coordinating Center for this vigilance program was initially at AIIMS New Delhi and then has now been shifted to the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, that is IPC, at Ghaziabad. The vision and mission of the PVPI program, that is the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, is to safeguard the health of the Indian population by ensuring that the benefit of medicine outweigh the risks associated with their use. This is the website of the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, and I will request all of you to navigate through the website at least once. The goals and objectives of the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. The goal is to ensure the benefits of use of the medicine outweigh the risk and thus safeguard the health of the Indian population. How does it actually reach this goal, or the objectives are to monitor adverse drug reaction in Indian population, also called ADRs, to optimize safe and effective use of medicines in our setup, to create awareness among health professionals about importance of ADR reporting, to monitor the benefit risk profile of medicines, to generate independent evidence-based recommendation on the safety of medicines, to support the CDSCO, which is the Drug Controller of India's office, also the Indian regulator, for formulating safety-related regulatory decisions for medicines. They should also are responsible for communicating all these findings with all key stakeholders. So just as a recap, overview of PVPI is to includes ADR monitoring centers, that is adverse drug reaction monitoring centers, wherein case reports of cases that are done are submitted or are created, and these go via software tools called VigiFlow for drugs and PaniFlow for vaccines to a system which is the international registry called VigiBase, which is based in Uppsala Monitoring Center in Sweden. From here, this goes the PVPI, that's the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, can issue alerts, recommend any changes in the label of that drug, and identify any signals that could be considered as dangerous signals, and thereby support the National Regulatory Authority to ensure drug safety throughout the country. This is an overview of its governance structure. There are the ADR monitoring centers, that is adverse drug reaction monitoring centers. These are medical institutes and hospitals approved by the Medical Council of India, include government hospitals, private hospitals, public health programs, and autonomous institutions such as ICMR. These are all in the north, south, east, and west zone. The central coordinating center is at the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission of Ghaziabad. And the reporting of this whole is through to the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, or the CDSCO, which is the Indian regulator. The support to all these is provided by the Signal Review Panel, the Core Training Panel, the Quality Review Panel, and these then feed into the Technical Support Committee, the Strategic Advisory Committee, and the Steering Committee. So the Signal Review Panels will do very careful review of every report and identify if there are any signals. There are subject matter experts who sit in all these committees. So it's a very closely governed program, and it's very, very smoothly run by the coordinating center and the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. The ADR monitoring centers, as we've just seen, include the Medical Council of India, MCI approved medical colleges and hospitals. These include private colleges, private hospitals, public health programs, and include also autonomous institutes such as ICMR, wherever drugs are being monitored, dispensed and monitored. Now, what does an ADR monitoring center in medical colleges do? It collects the adverse drug reaction report. It performs follow-up with the complainant to check completeness as per the standard operating procedures, enters this data into VigiFlow, which is the software. It reports to the National Coordinating Center through this VigiFlow. It also can conduct training, sensitization, and feedback to physicians through newsletters circulated by PVPI, National Coordinating Center, currently at Ghaziabad. Centers other than medical colleges can collect ADR reports, perform follow-up complaints, and report the data to the CDSCO headquarters. So the program governance and reporting structures include two main committees, which is the Steering Committee and the Strategic Advisory Committee. They are the monitoring and administering committees, and technical support is provided by Signal Review Panel, the Core Training Panel, and the Quality Review Panel. These panels all work in tandem together with each other to ensure that the quality of the reports being collected by them is good. The review is very scientifically done with subject matter experts to identify if there is an identifiable signal. This is currently the Steering Committee for PVPI. It includes the chairman as the director of AIIMS New Delhi. This is an ex officio position. The members include the Drug Controller General of India, Head of Department Pharmacology, AIIMS, New Delhi, Scientific Director of the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, Ghaziabad, nominee of the Director General ICMR, nominee of the Vice Chancellor of Medical Pharmacy University. Member Secretary is the Additional Drug Controller, New Drugs of India. The role of the regulator in the pharmacovigilance story is to actually take the regulatory decisions. So the signal committees and all the pharmacovigilance process alerts the regulator. And then the regulator has to take the decision and action based on what the National Coordinating Center says. They, of course, are also responsible for propagating medical safety decisions to stakeholders, and they collaborate with the WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center at Sweden. Now, safety database that we've spoken about earlier, the PaniFlow and Vigiflow. Vigiflow is the software provided by the WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center and is utilized as a safety database where all data originating from India is maintained in a safe and confidential manner. Now, just look at that's we've spoken about the governmental systems and the national and the international systems of pharmacovigilance. But what's non-government pharmacovigilance or the industry-driven pharmacovigilance? How does that happen? Or even so, this is done through two terms. We would like to introduce two terms here: the PSUR and the SIOMs. A PSUR is a periodic safety update report. Now, by the NDCT 2019, which is the new drug clinical trials rules of India, which are the Indian regulations currently regulating clinical trials in India. The applicant, whoever has received a marketing authorization, shall furnish periodic safety reports. Now, these periodic safety reports, because till the time the drug is considered new drug, you have to keep providing these safety reports. And how long is the drug considered new drug? 4 years. So for first 2 years, they have to give it 6 monthly. The next 2 years, they have to give it on an annual basis. And the idea and the purpose of it is to report all relevant new information from appropriate sources, relate data to patient exposure, summarize market authorization status in other countries to indicate whether any change has to be made to the product information. The PSURs also are relevant to all dosage forms and formulations as well as indications for new drugs, and they should be covered in one periodic safety report. Within the single safety update report, separate presentations of data for different dosage forms indications need to be given. All clinical and non-clinical safety data should only cover a time of period of the report, so interval data. It should not be a cumulative data. So these are regulations that are part of the NDCT, which companies have to follow while they are submitting PSURs or periodic safety update reports. Now let's come to another term that we spoke about, which is called SIOMs. SIOMs is an abbreviation for the Council of International Organization of Medical Sciences. It's an international, non-governmental, non-profit organization established jointly by WHO and UNESCO in 1949. In 1986, the very first SIOMs working group report was made on pharmacovigilance. Now, SIOMs has several other spaces that it works in. Pharmacovigilance is one of those spaces. The SIOMs guidelines have no legal or regulatory mandate. So they are not like the NDCT, which is the Government of India rules or regulations. You cannot not do NDCT. But SIOMs has no legal or regulatory mandate. They reflect the current thinking of a self-regulation. And they're not considered as consensus documents or legally binding. So just quickly having a look at the history of SIOMs. So 1993, they started SIOMs focus on pharmacovigilance and reporting adverse drug reactions. Now this is the SIOMs I form. So we've previously seen the form that is used for the pharmacovigilance program of India. This is the form that is used by SIOMs team. So I will recommend all of you to actually go Google in the SIOMs one form and look at the details of it. So to summarize, it is important that safety evaluation continues even after the drug is launched in the market. It has to be regulated. Important to remember that it's regulated in India through the NDCT 2019, the new drug and clinical trials rules. This has post-marketing launch could be phase 4 trials, phase 4 post-marketing surveillance studies, and pharmacovigilance studies. Pharmacovigilance in India is done through the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, PVPI. We've also learned what PSUR, that's periodic safety update reports, are, and what is COMS. I will request you to actually review the new drug clinical trials rules, look at the pharmacovigilance guidance document for marketing authorization holders, look at the COMS 1 form, the PSUR form in the NDCT. Thank you.